Okay, this is going to be part 2. I'm going to leave my camera open because there's some things I want to explain, and I think visuals will help with some of this. So I'm just in PowerPoint. I'm going to go to slideshow from current slide. So now this should be where part 1 left off. The first thing is that, and this is really what I wanted to be visual about. If you've never heard this word waft before, first of all, let's move that because that is just in the way. Waft means to push something towards you, like push the air towards you so that you can smell something. So let's pretend there was my tasty water. Let's pretend there was something in this cup that I needed to smell. It's water, but that's bad safety procedures, right? Okay, so instead I want to put the chemical a safe distance away from me, and I want to push the air towards me and breathe it in that way. That's what wafting is, especially with an acid, a strong acid or a strong base, which we'll get into later. It can actually damage like the hairs that are in your nose, and then they would like burn off, and then you can't smell things. So we don't want to kill our sense of smell, because I love smelling good food personally. So make sure you always waft stuff towards you. Let me move this a little bit so that you can see the words on the bottom. Okay, next. There we go. All chemicals and substances should be returned and left in the room at the end of lab. A lot of things just need to be stored in a proper way, and most science teachers are gonna know how that stuff is. Fun fact, if you have hydrogen peroxide in your house, you'll notice that it's in a dark bottle. That's because it's super sensitive to light. And if it is exposed to too much light, it actually will not turn into water. There's a chemical change that happens, and the extra hydrogen that is on it, or the extra hydrogen for each oxygen atom, will dissipate, and it will be separated. So it separates the like chemical. It's kind of cool. So just weird things like that are why chemicals need to be stored in a certain place in a lab. Always add acid last when mixing acid and another substance. Use the eye wash station or safety shower for chemical splashes in the eyes or on the skin. We don't have a safety shower, but we do have an eye wash station in our classroom. But again, I will not send any acids or even any strong bases home. Everything I will send home will be very close to neutral. Okay, heat sources, something we hopefully maybe would get to use when we come back to school. Never leave a heat source unattended. So if we have a hot plate, Bunsen burner, lit candle, that's especially important in your house. Make sure those are never lit and just left to do whatever. If we're heating a test tube, we're going to point the end of the test tube away from yourself and others. Do not place hot glassware into cold water. It will shatter immediately. It's kind of crazy, but the reason for this is the heat it makes the molecules in the glass move faster. And so they're expanding. And if you put them immediately in cold, it shocks them and they want to go back to being tight together. And so it just breaks. Kind of weird. Okay. Your personal lab station, you want to make sure it's always neat and clean. You want to move anything that's not necessary to use during the lab away from it. Maybe you have your homework sitting there. You want to like secretly work on your homework while you're doing your lab. What if something gets on your homework and then you're in trouble? So just keep your lab station clean. We want to make sure we dispose of trash in the correct container. Most solids can go in the trash can and most liquids can be washed down the sink, but that's not true for everything. So if you have questions, always ask. Never place unused chemicals back into their original container. If we take it out of their original container, we now consider it contaminated. So we don't want to put it back in with a pure substance. Clean all lab equipment and wash your hands at the end of lab. So we got some personal hygiene mixed in with just typical safety stuff. Okay, checkpoint. This is in your notes. This will be posted as an assignment or a discussion question. I'm making this video pretty far ahead of time, so I haven't decided that part yet. I'm going to go over it, but this is something you'll have to turn in an answer to later, so pay attention. First question, which lab procedure do you feel is most important? And then you're going to explain why. So for me, let's see, what do I think is most important? I'm trying to think specifically for our physical science class. A lot of those procedures don't necessarily pertain to what I know we will do in our classroom this year. So I'm just looking back at our notes really quickly. We might heat stuff up, but it's not going to be, honestly, I think tying back long hair behind you, so get it out of the way, and you want to put it in a rubber band or whatever, so that it doesn't get in something, and then not wearing loose baggy clothing during this. Like this sweater is like really loose and has a lot of extra fabric. I wouldn't wear it while I was using lab equipment. It's very likely to knock something over. So I would say always tie back long hair and tie back baggy clothing. So like roll up your sleeves to reduce the risk of accidents. Wear a lab coat or apron if necessary. So the first bullet point on slide 4. That to me is the most important because I know that we will use glass beakers and maybe water and other liquids often in this class, and I don't want to make a mess. I don't want to break things. What should you do if you're working on a lab and you are confused about the directions? That's so easy. You always ask. Always ask if you don't know what to do. I don't want you to move forward and potentially hurt yourself or hurt someone else, but I also want you to have the right experience. When it comes to labs, mistakes are helpful, but if you want to do it right and you don't know what to do, just ask. I'm happy to help. Why is it important to follow the lab safety procedures? To keep you safe. Duh. I think it just makes our day smoother, less paperwork for me. If you get hurt, I got to go through some stuff. That kind of sucks, but yeah, we just want to keep everybody safe and we want to have a good experience in the lab. So I think that's why it's important to follow lab safety procedures. Safe or unsafe? Explain your answers. Matt was thirsty, so he drank some liquid from a beaker because it looked like water. Unsafe. You have no idea what's in that beaker. Well, maybe you do. But if he says it looks like water, you probably didn't know. So you don't know what it is. Most things that look like water but aren't water are not good for you. So don't drink anything in the lab. If you have to have water, if you're truly thirsty, you need to excuse yourself from the lab, go get your water, come back when you're ready. But don't ever drink anything that's in a beaker. Safe or unsafe? Rachel immediately reported broken glass and a spill to her teacher. Safe. Rachel would be star student of the day. Okay, guys, that's it for these notes. You are going to do anything else that is, sorry, I'm looking back to my interactive notebook. You are at this time going to go look at the next assignments that are on Canvas. Remember, if it is a must do, that is being counted for or against you as a grade, okay? So anything that is a must do, I want you to go ahead and do now. If you have extra time, I would like you to go ahead and look at the should do. So we have some more interactive stuff that's going in this notebook. For safety procedures, we have, oh, I'm on the wrong page. Hold on. I'm a unit ahead. Still ahead. So this is safety procedure notes. We just finished this. So we have 2 interactive activities. I want you to use your notes while you're doing these, but the first one is safe versus unsafe pocket activity. So I have my cards put in there in my little Ziploc bag and stapled here because I'm going to do a video showing you how to put this one together. And I haven't done it yet. Next, I have the lab procedures pedal activity. So each pedal has a scenario on it, and under the scenario, so like scenario 1, Ryan directly smelled the chemical in the beaker. You're going to go in and after you've read the scenario, you write what should have been done on the other side. So Ryan directly smelled the chemical in the beaker. Let's flip it up and say he should have. Write down that word that I told you of what he should do. So you have 6 of them, I think. Yeah, you have 6 pedals. So 6 different scenarios, just a way to practice your scenarios. So this again is a must do. And then that's your last interactive activity. When you're done with that, go back to Canvas, see if there's anything else you need to do.